were a couple people. We took the entire team that worked on Tron during that period of time and brought them into RGA. Actually, when we did a piece for Nike called Nike Lab, we brought an interesting guy into a competition, and it was called KD Labs, and it turns out it was Joe Kaczynski, who's the current very young director of the new Tron, and he really started through that competition and found his way to David Fincher's company, somebody that I worked with a lot. For instance, the opening to and special effects for Seven. These are some of the examples. During this period of time, we worked on about 400 feature films and about 4,000 commercials. And looking at the changing industry, in '93, I had a meeting with Jim Clark, who founded Silicon Graphics. And he told me that he was moving to this new company that I would hear about called Mosaic. And it's largely connected to the University of Illinois, where both my brother and sister were going to school. And I looked up Mark Andreessen, and that sold me on getting out of what I was doing at the time, which was largely based in television commercials and feature films, and moved into creating an interactive boutique and subsequently an interactive advertising agency. And it looked a little like that. The work was very difficult at the time. It could hardly support any kind of motion. I remember when the Razorfish sub-network had somebody blowing a smoke ring. That was considered really novel during the very beginning days in '94, as an example. And what I really want to focus on is this period of time from December '04 through 2013, which is the 9-year increment or so in which we're going to create the agency for the digital age. We're far enough along in designing that particular new agency model, which what we were looking at the time was Ogilvy, J. Walter Thompson, companies like Leo Burnett and BDB, particularly the Bernbach part. That was sort of the Mad Men days. And we're far enough along that I'm pretty sure that our model is a new model in the advertising business. We grew 40% this year during a very bad environment. We'll do the same pretty close to next year, I'm pretty sure. At least that's what our forward plan is. So we're growing very quickly because it's a new model and because it has a lot of vertical departments and horizontal offerings. So we're selling more things to our existing clients in a way in which the old model was disrupted by technology, which was television, and our new model is disrupted by the internet, mobile, and social media. So it looks a bit like that. And our work has gotten much more motion-based, and full-motion video is something we do out of our digital studio quite a lot. So I'm going to talk a bit about the agency for the digital age. I think this clicker is a little confused, but we've opened up, we now have 7 offices, and we're going to be opening an 8th shortly in Bucharest. When you go from Singapore to Sao Paulo and Buenos Aires to Chicago, we're starting to build the beginnings of a new network model. This particular chart, which I won't go into any detail, it's on our website, just shows the vertical departments and the horizontal offerings. Many of these things exist inside of traditional agencies. They're just not integrated, and they're not collaborative, and they're not sharing the same systematic way of doing things. Recently, we just opened 3 new areas. One's called Events. It's actually live events. And that's a significant new addition. We took the person who ran the event practice at Crispin Brian Schultz and brought him to RGA. And we're building a unique integration between live events, promotion, and PR. The other is data visualization, and I'll show an example of that with the new Nike Plus iPhone 4 GPS-enabled app. And how important I think data visualization is and how tied it is to design. And product innovation, which we are also doing with Nike. We have 30 people just on digital sports as an example, creating products. We're interested in designing and integrating like a new version of IDO. So design, collaboration, and integration are really important aspects of what we're doing architecturally because the sum is greater than the individual parts. And it goes back to the Bauhaus, which I looked at when I was growing up in Chicago. My parents lived in a Mies van der Rohe building, and I became really fascinated with it, as did my brother, who taught at IIT. This group of people created real innovation in architecture and furniture design, as well as textiles and lots of other things. And they have this concept of less is more. We think that's really important because of this whole idea of reductionist thinking, both in architecture, and our building is a reference to modern Bauhaus, and sort of integrating together creativity and technology. In fact, one of the tracks I worked on for VCU Brand Center is the Creative Technologist track, which is becoming a really important part of the agency business. ITP at NYU is sort of the new media lab, and Red Burns, who used to be on the board of Media Lab, is in her late 80s, and she says probably the best way to describe us is as a center of the reasonably possible. And I think that's pretty much where agencies are finding themselves, particularly the digital ones, with new ideas that just sort of can be done just yesterday. I look at Glenn Gould as a very interesting influence because he stopped performing at the height of his career and did everything in post-production. And that really led to a new and innovative way to think about music and the design of it. One of the people who really invented motion graphics was Sal Bass, and I recently posthumously entered him into the One Show Hall of Fame. So this is a shortened version of the film that we did about Sal.
The ingredients that contribute towards what we consider to be superior work are superior ideas and superior form giving or aesthetics that express the ideas. We might say that design is a process that makes ideas visible. What's characteristic of my work, I think, is I have a reductive point of view. I tend to move towards simplification. I tend to be looking for the one powerful, provocative image that takes whatever the notion is that you're trying to communicate and does something to it that causes you to understand something about that issue that you didn't understand before, and most importantly, causes you to examine it, and is sufficiently seductive, to pull you into it.
Glad to remember Sal Bass and Paul Rand and people like that really pushed forward the design part of what we do. Visualization, collaboration, simplicity, and innovation are all part of the architecture of RGA. I'm going to talk about visualization first. And just, without the quote, just how important Edward Tufte is for the people that work at RGA. We have over 100 user experience people, and they're all in the business because of Edward Tufte and the books that he did on envisioning data and information. Nike Plus is a good example of these things coming together. It's a platform. So underneath it sits an operating system, a platform, and campaigns sit on top of that. It's very data intensive, and what I'll suggest is that what we found is as important as music is to the running experience, personal data is actually more important.
Nike Plus, a global community of millions, a platform that reinvigorated running for Nike. But there is no finish line for Nike Plus. Now every type of runner can run with Plus, whether laced up with Nikes or not. Introducing the Nike Plus iPhone app. Simply download it and instantly become a member of the world's largest running club. Run indoors or head outside, where Nike Plus uses GPS to track your progress. Let your Facebook friends know that you're going for a run.
Beginning workout. Distance, 0.8 miles. Distance, 1.8 miles.
Each time a Facebook friend likes or comments on your run, your ears ring with applause, helping you take it to the next level.
Beyond the goal.
You just ran 3 days in a row. That's cool.
Your pace is measured and displayed on a color-coded map.
So the important thing about Nike Plus is that the GPS-enabled iPhone 4 took the chip out of the shoe so you can run with any shoe. And I think that's a pretty great thing for Nike to give up their exclusive media platform. And what's happening now is there's about 4 million people that interact with Nike on a 3 times a week basis. So what it does is it then allows people who are wearing Adidas or New Balance or ASICs to be interacting with Nike on that on a regular basis, and they're selling them all sorts of other things, and eventually perhaps even changing their choice of shoes. We hope to bring the running club up to something close to 10 million. Collaboration. Muriel Cooper was a very big inspiration because she started the Visual Language Lab at Media Lab, and during that time they were doing the most innovative work with data visualization. And I think that it sort of fell off after Muriel passed away and the dot-bomb happened, but it's coming back in a major way now, and that's why it's an important design piece to the future of our agency. This sort of shows how we think about stuff from stories, which won't go away and are still going to be an important part of the future, and systematic thinking. Also conceptual thinking and the ability to make things. So if you look at how agencies are currently structured, they're in the conceptual and storytelling part. And then they work with traditional production companies that are making the actual work come to life. Occasionally, they may work with a digital production company as an outsource, and then even with an interaction designer. But what's starting to happen with us is we've got a very complex pattern of things happening now between conceptualizing and making, as well as telling stories and thinking systematically. I think we saw that with Nike Plus. The film room is an example of going back to an older medium, which is print, but in an innovative way and bringing data and motion into it. So I'll show that to you.
In the NBA, a player's career has always been defined by his moves. Kareem skyhook, Jordan switch hand layup. Today, players' moves are their signature on the court. Kevin Durant's counter 62, Deron Williams' hesitation dribble. Nike set out to teach today's pro moves to the next generation of stars by creating the Signature Moves Film Room. The Signature Moves Film Room first broke down the pros' moves step by step, making it easy for kids to learn. The kids then studied the moves with the help of Nike trainers. And performed the moves as a computer program analyzed the film in order to separate it frame by frame.
The Signature Moves Film Room application is capable of extracting motion from a still background. The program would subtract the background, leaving only the athlete and the ball. When we shoot a succession of still images, it would recomposite them into one image in a way that the kid would be able to understand something about its performance at a glance.
These processed images were sent to printers, and within minutes, those kids walked away with personalized Nike posters of themselves doing the moves.
Yeah, I'm a little excited. Give it to my grandma. That's grandma. And then I crossed over. It's pretty sick.
As well as a video showing the moves in action. The videos were uploaded to their Ball of Resume, a new way for athletes to socialize and store and display their game for coaches and colleges to see. And for maximum impact, we unveiled the film room at the 2010 World Basketball Festival in New York City at the Mecca of Basketball, the Rucker.
It's a great thing that Nike's doing, that, the World Basketball itself is doing that, and it's coming here to home, in this community. It's a great thing. This is a little bit of what Kobe felt like on the court this morning. Just a little take.
Hundreds of participants learned and performed signature moves, created their own poster, and got basketball lessons from NBA pros.
I picked a player, and I chose Andre Iguodala. He did it, and I also got to watch how he did it, so I could probably do the same.
The Signature Moves Film Room set the stage for future film rooms at basketball events around the world. Where the next generation will learn the moves that will one day define their game.
Simplicity, John Maeda, who's now the president of RISD, or Rhode Island School of Design, used to run the Media Lab at MIT, says that simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. And what we're looking at is a pretty simple chart of going from simple to complex. The way that it's normally done is going from average things to things that are more unique. What we're tending to do is not just go in a straight linear way, but go around and deal with the complex and bring it back to something that's unique. And it's a very different problem when you have to have a very different staff to really deal with today's complexities. This is an example of branding done for one of our clients, Barnes & Noble.
We are readers. There's a place we like to go where the world fades, the book melts away, and the story we're reading becomes our reality. This is our nook. Barnes & Noble has always been a place to lose yourself in a book, so the starting point was choosing a name that captured the feeling of being absorbed in the act of reading. This is your Nook. The Nook symbol represents protection from interruption. Nook's monotype gilt font pays respect to the history of book design, while the white space and adaptive color palette add a sense of modernism to the Barnes & Noble brand. The brand design brought Nook to life, creating the first e-reader that's approachable, warm, and easy to use. A comprehensive marketing campaign across print, retail, radio, and the web extended Nook's identity and generated awareness for the high-profile product launch. By sharing your passion for reading, Barnes & Noble connects with their audience in a way Amazon cannot. Nook was completely sold out on launch day, and thanks to this successful new brand launch, Barnes & Noble has instantly become a major player in the ebook market. This is Nook, your place to read a good book.
Jim Clark isn't the founder of Sun Microsystem. Bill Joy, who I work with, was. Jim founded Silicon Graphics and Netscape. But he said that the internet that's not one thing, it's a collection of things in a very important digital language. So this is the last thing that
How do you brand an application? The traditional approach would be to create a visual system and then push it down into functionality. For Nokia Vine, we did the opposite. We started by looking at what the app does and how people use it. The app records the photos and videos people take with their mobile phones onto a living, growing map of their experiences. Seeing this revealed the metaphor of the vine, which could explain the functionality to users and connect them to it emotionally, and the trails people make on maps look a lot like vines. Vine was the perfect name, and the idea of the vine became an interface language in which form and functionality are inseparable. Color-coded leaves sprouted on the vine to represent different types of media. With the interface established, we distilled the essence of the experience into a logo. In this new model, you can't separate what something does from what it looks like, what it's called, and how it behaves. It's a new way to approach branding in the digital age.
Finally, a couple of quotes. One is from Tadeo Ando, a very incredible architect who was self-taught. He used to be a prize boxer. And he said, I'm afraid that people don't want the future to happen. With that, I'm going to show the last piece. I was wrong. Nike ID, which is a customization engine where the product becomes the interface.
Introducing Nike ID 3.0, a complete redesign of the world's greatest customization experience that lets users create their own Nike products. In 2003, Nike ID was just a simple HTML site with basic functions, but it was the first step in creating the wildly popular customization tool we know today. Version 2.0 followed soon after, incorporating Flash to simplify the user experience and create a universal platform that could go anywhere. In Times Square, it took the form of a 23-story interactive sign on which people could design a shoe with a cell phone. In retail, it was transformed into Nike ID studios in Nike towns around the world. There, Nike design consultants help guests craft their own shoe with special fabrics and patterns, leaving them with a wallet-sized memento in anticipation of the real thing. On the facade of Nike Town, New York, touchscreens encourage people streetside to design their own Nike ID shoe right on the window. Inside, the lobby video walls showcase the latest Nike ID creations from users around the world. And in Nike Town, London, Nike ID helped teams of footballers customize their uniforms with the Team Kit Builder. Fast forward to today, and a completely redesigned Nike ID experience. Now, the product is the interface. Users design by simply clicking on parts of a shoe in any order. New technology has been developed that lets users get closer to products than ever before, allowing them to see stitching and materials in minute detail. And they can view it from any angle. Taking customization a step further, users now have the ability to change performance features that suit their unique style of play or position. Need inspiration? Users can tap into the vast Nike ID community by accessing thousands of user-generated designs searchable by color. And when it's all done, people can share their creations with the world. With Nike ID, the power is all in the hands of the consumer.
And finally, I I can't understand why people are frightened of new ideas. I'm frightened of the old ones from John Cage. The composer, when he was doing his music, it wasn't considered music, much like Philip Glass wasn't either. And he had to invent the future and did a lot of that. So he's been a real hero of mine. I want to thank you all very much for listening to me carry on. Have a great show. Thank you.